So we all know the Chiefs have been trying to get a long-term deal done with a certain player, and multiple sources have shared with me that that deal is now in place. So the decision is in theory made. The question is, does every final minute detail actually get ironed out and then said contract get signed in time before tomorrow's deadline? Well, regardless of which outcome ends up happening, some will not like it for reasons I'll dive into in today's video. So I've got to talk about that, Mahomes weighing in about the future of Arrowhead, Xavier Worthy being very excited to get out there for year 2, and more. But first, how about those? All right, first up, before we get into all the Trey Smith news that I currently have, Patrick Mahomes had an interview on CNBC late last week, and there's definitely a couple things worth talking about here. For starters, he was asked about the future of Arrowhead, specifically if he had any preference in seeing Arrowhead get renovated or to see a brand new shiny stadium built on the Kansas side. Well, Mahomes said it's out of his control, but Arrowhead is a special place. Quote, "It's my favorite place to play in the NFL." However, he knows Kansas has a great bid as well, and the stadium will be top of the top in every aspect. They can't go wrong either way because whether it's in Kansas or remains at Arrowhead, he knows Chiefs Kingdom is going to pack that place out regardless. Honestly, I do agree with that. Mahomes took the neutral stance here. That's what he does when he speaks to the media. He's very well trained. And yes, while I would personally prefer the Chiefs to continue playing at Arrowhead forever, there's a lot of people from the Kansas side that come to the games. So let's say the Chiefs do move to the Legends area, Kansas 2031. A lot of people from Missouri are going to be there, and the place is going to be packed and loud as hell. KC is KC for the most part to me, at least regardless of the state that it's in. Now, Mahomes was then asked about his take on an 18-game season. We saw the games increase from 16 to 17 for the 2021 season, and now the talk of the town is it eventually going to 18. The most likely way that happens is via the removal of one preseason game and an extra bye week, so 2 preseason games and 2 bye weeks in total. However, I still think most players do not love that idea, including Mahomes himself. He said he's not personally a fan of an 18th game being added because the more games you play, the more taxing it is on the players, and injuries can pile up that way. At the end of the day, you want your best players being out there, and each additional game added does technically increase the risk for injury. He did say that another bye week would have to be added in order for it to even potentially work, but again, he did not seem to really love the idea. I agree. I'm not sure a 17th game was even needed. There were so many teams resting starters week 18 as it was, with the Chiefs being one of them. Several games that week meant very little if a playoff seed was already locked in or a team had already been eliminated from the playoffs. So yeah, I'm not sure an 18th game is needed, let alone a 17th. Something that is really needed is a long-term deal getting done with right guard Trey Smith, and I have some potentially good news here in that regard, but before I talk about that, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN dropped his top 10 QB list heading into the 2025 NFL season, but this one isn't just his opinion. This was done via a survey from league executives, coaches, and scouts via both the AFC and NFC. So a survey was conducted and more than 70 voters submitted a ballot on at least one position group. They are doing 11 in total. And so this is a pretty good way to get these top 10 results. With that being said, in reverse order, it went Baker Mayfield at 10, then Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Jaden Daniels was way up at 5 after just his rookie year, Lamar at 4, Joe Burrow at 3, then Josh Allen, followed by Patrick Mahomes. Surprise, surprise. This is actually my top 10 list as well, at least as far as the 10 quarterbacks that are in the top 10. I had mine in a slightly different order, though. I had Jaden Daniels at 8 because I felt like it was a bit of a stretch to put a rookie any higher than that after just one season. I then had Hurts at 7 rather than 9, and a couple other minor tweaks as well, with Lamar Jackson over Joe Burrow, really because of Burrow's inability to put together full seasons from a health standpoint. It's not really his fault, and he did have a nuclear season last year, but that's how I had it. Anyway, I did enjoy seeing Mahomes at the top spot because I don't feel cuckoo crazy after all. We've seen the recent hot takes placing him out of the top spot and even out of the top 3, but it's not really backed by solid evidence. Most of the guys doing that are purely stat watching rather than taking other circumstances into effect. Now, to be clear, even though Mahomes is still at the top of this list, quote, Mahomes' grip on the top spot is loosening slightly. He had 60% of the first place votes this year compared to only one non-first place vote last year. I love that Fowler also added this. He said, context is key with these discussions and Patrick's stats require a lot of it. Thank you. One NFL coordinator said that the Chiefs' O-line play declined, their wide receiver room was very banged up due to injuries, and Kelsey isn't the same as he once was. So with those thoughts in mind, that NFL coordinator said, I thought he had more command of time, score, situation, and better fundamentals from within the pocket than ever. He's a one-man army, and no NFL coach wants to deal with him. Complete dog, no one like him. Maybe Burrow, but Burrow isn't as dangerous as a player. Look at that. It's very refreshing to see something that's not a hot take said about Patrick Mahomes. He was still the most efficient quarterback on third downs last year with a league-high QBR on that down, as well as the highest percentage of pass attempts, 53.1%, resulting in first downs. Mahomes' lowest vote was fourth, though to be fair, the guy who did vote him fourth said that he doesn't expect the step back from a statistical standpoint from Mahomes to last for long. An AFC scout even noted that while Mahomes may not have the same fear factor about him from opponents like he did a few years ago, he expects Patrick to bounce back in 2025 with a healthier receiving core and a retooled O-line. I mean, wow, look what happens when you have roughly 50 to 70 people in the business around the league voting on this stuff, rather than some overpaid talking puppet from Fox Sports, ESPN, or a random independent Joe Schmo. Mahomes is still on the throne, even though, yes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow are also great in their own right. But speaking of that rebuilt offensive line, those were the AFC scouts' words, not mine. I would say retooled on the left side with 3 of the 5 players remaining the same, but lots of eyes are looking at Trey Smith and wondering, does a long-term deal get done with the Chiefs before tomorrow's deadline? If no extension happens by 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, Trey Smith either plays on the tag or, per Spot Track, he could still sign a new 1-year contract at any cost. I would think that would only happen if KC for some reason wanted to pay him more than the $23.4 million guaranteed he's making on the tag, but I seriously hope it doesn't really even have to come to that. He is the lone player in the entire league still on the tag, and when asked about this last week on the Kay Adams show, Trey said, I leave it to the hands of my agents. The front office staff of the Chiefs are elite, and so at the end of the day, I just let them take care of it. In the meantime, he's focused on being the best player he can possibly be and is getting ready for training camp, which will essentially be tough as hell per usual. So Trey tried to keep himself out of the contract talks, but the hope is a long-term deal does get done. And while I can't promise in blood that it will happen 1,000%, I have heard from 2 different sources that a 4-year contract worth around $22-ish million per year has at least been agreed upon. Obviously, we'll see if that actually comes to fruition or not tomorrow by the deadline and the contract actually does get signed, but hearing that from not 1, but 2 different people makes me feel pretty confident about it at this point in time. Obviously, crazy things could happen and the deal doesn't end up getting done and he plays that year on the franchise tag, but I really hope not, because I would hate to see Joe Thuney traded away to the Chicago Bears and Trey Smith then walk somewhere else to another team to the highest bidder next offseason. I don't really like that at all. I also understand some around the kingdom are not extremely excited about the idea of Trey Smith becoming the highest paid guard in all of football based on his true strength really being as a run blocker. The Chiefs, meanwhile, don't run the ball that often and that effectively, but my counter to that is I would really like them to. So give us a couple guys that play well on run plays. Why the heck not? He's not a top 10 or even top 15 pass protector along the interior if you are looking at it league-wide per PFF grades, but he is improving every year, has been extremely durable, starting in 80 games in his career if you combine regular season and the playoffs, and he's still only 26 years old. Some have said, well, just let Trey go. Play on the tag, let him go elsewhere, and find another next year via the draft or free agency. Well, part of the problem with that is teams rarely let their top guards go, and then the draft is often a gamble. You never really know. I don't even know why they need to explore that. If you have Simmons and Kingsley on a rookie deal, Jawan Taylor most likely gone after this year, and maybe Jalen Moore or Wanye, who's also on a rookie deal, on the right side, what's wrong with paying Trey Smith top of the market money, especially with the cap rising year in and year out? But hey, let me know your thoughts. If you think a long-term deal with Trey does get done by tomorrow's deadline, then also let me know your opinion on him becoming the highest paid guard in all of football. Do you agree with that or no? Regardless, Trey is so committed to protecting Patrick Mahomes that he said he sometimes literally loses sleep over it. Well, that's the guy you want continuing to be one of the starting 5 out there for years to come. All right, real quick, I want to shout out a couple ways you can support the channel. You can get some HBTC coffee of Benchwarmer Brew. This has got origin notes of Mexico and Ethiopia, a smooth medium roast, and it is one of the most popular blends of the lineup. Then you can also snag some HBTC merch. We've got Dad Bod Season an X Factor in honor of Dante Hall, mixed with Xavier Worthy, of course, and much more. Links to both the coffee and merch are in the description down below. Now let's continue with the O-line talk for a moment here. Josh Simmons said in a recent Chiefs video that he will be ready to play week 1, and if the Chiefs happen to call his name for that game, he's going to make sure they will not regret it. I can't help but drink all the hopium on the planet when it comes to the Josh Simmons hype, and Trey Smith seems to really like the guy as well. He told Kay Adams last week that he loves Josh's mentality and demeanor. He's been grinding, and Trey can tell he's very talented. He's also looking forward to taking Simmons under his wing and helping his game out in any way possible. Trey is personally trying to be more consistent each and every play, and he basically said if every player on offense plays at a high level on a consistent basis, that's how you do it. Well, the team as a whole has been winning pretty consistently year in and year out, to say the least. Yes, they lost the Super Bowl badly. I get it. But prior to that, they won 9 playoff games in a row, with Trey adding that the Super Bowl loss only helps add fuel to the fire, especially combined with all the offseason chatter. Quote, "We want to go get it done." Xavier Worthy is also fired up for this upcoming season, as he interviewed with Kay Adams as well late last week. He really came alive in the back half of his rookie year, and Worthy shared that understanding coverage, leverage, and what Pat likes to do based on that is what helped him take things to the next level. Some plays allow for more freedom in his routes than others, but timing either way is very important. Well, once he got a better understanding of all that, it made things easier. Travis Kelce even helped further with that, as he obviously has had great chemistry with Mahomes over the years, and Worthy explained to Kay that there were several times at practice where Kelce would see something in Worthy's route that could be done a bit differently, and he would give him feedback, which Xavier said added more tools to his game. Now, before they had their offseason break, Worthy shared that Big Red wanted him to get his hamstrings ready, i.e., you're going to be doing a lot of running deep down the field. That's something that Worthy wants to build upon with Mahomes, the deep ball, who, per Worthy himself, is locked in. He cut his hair, and, quote, he's in a different mode right now. Honestly, everybody as a whole is locked in at this point in time. The wide receiver room in particular is ahead of schedule now compared to where they were last year. You have Worthy and Hollywood entering year 2 in the system, Juju as well after a short stint with the Patriots, and then Rice is coming into his 3rd year after missing almost all of year 2, but looked absolutely fantastic the 3 weeks of the season before he got injured. They are all playing faster right now and don't need to spend the time learning all the ins and outs of the playbook like they did last year, and can run around a bit more freely. Well, that's really good news. I do love to hear it, and is only a small piece of why I think the offense takes a pretty big step up in 2025. Fun is also a theme of the offseason. There was a lot of pressure with the three-peat, but Mahomes and Worthy, among others, want to get back to having more fun out there during these games, because if you quit having fun, you lose your love for the game. Well, hopefully not only the players end up having more fun this season, but so do the fans. I know the Chiefs won 15 games last year, but 11 of them, I believe, in the regular season, 12 if you combine the playoffs, were one-score games that were very stressful and down to the wire. And I know I'm not alone in those thoughts either. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. We will see what happens with the Trey Smith deal. Does it get done or not? I think it does, but time will surely tell. We will all know by the deadline tomorrow. So until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those